Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Hello and welcome to another episode of Living the Dream with Curveball. I am your host, Curveball, and today I am joined by a special guest, Bill Abernathy. He is a singer and a songwriter. He's from Kansas City, Missouri. He had a long career with a company called Bayer, but decided to leave that career to focus on music. He is also a chart topper. So we're going to be talking to him today about everything that he's working on and what made him get started in music. Bill, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I'm looking forward to having a good little conversation with you.
Well, why don't you start off by giving everybody a little bit of background about yourself, telling us if you're originally from Kansas City and anything else that you want the audience to know. And by the way, I'm in Junction City right now.
Oh, wow, we're close. We're close.
Yep, we sure are.
Yeah. No, I've been in the Kansas City area pretty much my whole life. I was actually born in a place called Ione, Washington, in a condemned hospital. So I think that was maybe a precursor to my life. Not sure, but I lived in the suburbs of Kansas City forever, and now I live in the world famous Kansas City Market area. So very pleased with where I'm at and what I've got going on. And so started playing music when I was really young, and was in a very musical family. My oldest sister was very much involved in church music, and she got me involved in that as kind of I got it old enough. I had another brother that was very focused and involved in folk music scene in the Kansas City area and in the Midwest. And he got me involved in some of that, back in the day when you'd go to a performance and instead of clapping, everybody would just snap their fingers. It was kind of cool. It was kind of a cool thing. So I've been doing that for forever. Just retired actually from my corporate career with Bear after 43 and a half years. I'm retired in November of last year. And so I'm learning what it's like now to be a full-time musician. So it's interesting and it's challenging for sure. I found that even though in retirement, I'm still extremely busy. So interesting time.
Well, let's talk about your corporate career before music. Tell everybody what Bayer is and what made you decide to retire to focus strictly on music.
Well, I worked for Bayer Crop Science, which is the division of Bayer, like the Bayer pharmaceutical that everybody knows, Bayer aspirin and all that. So they also have a crop science division. And so we supplied products to the agricultural industries and, helped feed the world effectively with, different products, different chemicals that the farmers could use. And I worked in various elements of the company throughout my career. But when I ended, I had the title of Head of Logistics Excellence for North America. And effectively, what I did was I managed projects, or I managed a team that managed projects. So we would come up with some ideas based on some analysis that we had done in the various production sites and the various distribution sites, and we would look at their business processes. We would modify them, optimize them a bit, and then integrate technologies to help the folks do their job more efficiently, so they wouldn't get so tied down to a keyboard or tied down to a computer, and let them focus a little bit more on their core competencies, which has helped did help substantially. So did that for the longest time. And to be honest with you, my retirement was a choice. And I'm not the youngest guy on the planet, right? So I'm 63, and I got an opportunity to leave the company with a pretty nice package, and so I opted out and decided to focus a little bit more on my music now. So that's kind of the story. So.
So let the listeners know what kind of music you do and past projects that you have put out and who you've worked with and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to put it in a box, right? So I'm a singer songwriter, or as some people say, I'm a storyteller with a guitar, right? And so, throughout the course of my life, many things have happened to me, and I've met some very interesting people, and been able to experience some very interesting situations. And I think out of those situations, there's always something you can take away, whether it's a really cool situation or whether it's something that's a little bit more on the negative side. There's always something you can learn. And I think that one of the things that I try to focus on with my music is relaying some of those things that I've learned over time, and some of those things that I still question and things that I don't understand. Helping people, maybe they can take a bit of advice from it, or maybe they can just find some solace in the fact that they're not alone out there. We're all a little confused about a lot of things that go on in the world today, and I think it's a good thing to understand that there's not always an answer, right? Sometimes the answer itself is the search.
So you've topped the charts before. Tell us about that. What chart did you top? What song? And how did that feel to you? And what did that chart topping song get you?
Yeah, well, there's nothing cooler than driving down the road, listening to the radio, and all of a sudden you hear your stuff. That's a moment, right? That I think is very cool, and I was very fortunate to have that. Like I said, I do singer songwriter stuff, so I write in all kinds of different genres of music, whether it be folk, which is the one that we topped, some Americana stuff, some country stuff, some rock stuff, some blues stuff, and even toss in a little bit of jazz from time to time. So that's the advantage of being a singer songwriter, is you can kind of pick the genre that best portrays the story that you're trying to tell. And so the one that we got that hit number one was number one in the United States, I think, for 3 weeks on the folk charts, and it was a song that's called "Goodbye Will Never Come Again." And I always like to tell people it's a three-part song, right? It's a song about how not to end a relationship, right? So I had once entered a relationship so poorly that effectively I just said goodbye and walked away. No real explanation, no nothing. It's kind of the easy way out and actually the wrong way out. So the "Goodbye Will Never Come Again" song is really a confession at one point. It's an apology at another point, and it's a promise at the end of the song that says goodbye, meaning that really, really poor way to end a relationship will never happen again. So "Goodbye Will Never Come Again." We were very fortunate. It came off of our "Find a Way" album, and it landed number one, and it charted. It was on Roots music charts for well over 2 years. So we were very pleased with that.
Wow, that's impressive. So how did you manage to manage your corporate career as well as work on your music? How did you balance that when you were working in the corporate world?
Yeah, that's really what the whole idea of the "Find a Way" album that I came up with is really all about. It's really about how to find a balance, how to find a balance in your life. And you mentioned, the balance between the corporate stuff and the music stuff. And that's a challenge because my corporate gig was a 60, 70 hour a week thing. It was hard to find the time, but I think it's a matter of understanding that your priorities, right? Even in the corporate world, even when you're really driving, and you've got a lot going on, and you're building your career and rising through the corporate ranks and all this stuff. If you lose balance and you don't have something else to take your mind away from that, you will not be nearly as effective as you would be if you walked away, if you stepped away from all that and used your time and your focus on something else. And music for me during my corporate gig was really, it was that thing. It was my escape. It was my way to just have kind of pure me time and really to evaluate my thoughts and my ideas and put them down on paper, and a very nice escape from the corporate grind, if you would, but also very helpful and actually quite healing in many times to help me work through some of the challenges that life throws at you. But that's one balance, but another balance that I think we all struggle with, going back to the kind of the "Goodbye Will Never Come Again" song, is finding the balance between your professional life and your personal life. It's really easy to lose your focus and and prioritize things really poorly when you're trying to work on a relationship, or you're trying to be friends with somebody, or you're trying to get to know somebody. And I think that from a balance and a prioritization standpoint, regardless of how good you are at your corporate world, you can be replaced, and it can happen pretty quickly if that's the need. So I always used to tell people that my career with Bear was really what I did, but it wasn't necessarily who I was. And the music and the other things that I do to balance out my life are really more of who I am instead of what I do. So, and then of course, when I retired, who I am became what I do. So now I just get to focus on music, and it's really a good thing for me.
Absolutely. So tell us, I know you had a number one song. So what are some of the other cool things, cool experiences, maybe travel experiences, people that you've worked with that you never thought you would have a chance to during your music journey? Kind of tell us some stories about that.
Yeah, I think that I'm very blessed in Kansas City that we have some fantastic musicians that I get the opportunity to work with. My recording label is called Enneagram Records, and it's owned by a fantastic musician named Max Berry. And so Max and I reproduce all of my music. He also plays on the albums. He's quite a guitar player. On occasion, even does a little bit of vocal work on there as well. So I'm very happy to have built a relationship with him over the years. And we were just in the studio yesterday, actually working on the next thing, right? Uh, but as far as a story, there are so many, right? But last year, right about this time, I was on tour in North America, and went through 6 states. And I was doing the tour was in support of not only the Find a Way album, but also our latest release, which is called Crossing Willow Creek, who has also been charted and charting all over the world, and doing very well from a streaming standpoint and all that. I was booked into a place just outside of Albuquerque, New Mexico, and a pretty nice place, very cool venue. They had done a lot of work, a lot of publication and all that before the show, and we had a really really nice crowd. And I noticed as I was playing that there was one particular gentleman who was very, very attentive. He was sitting over on the far right side of the stage, and he was very, very attentive through the entire concert. I played for probably 2 hours. He was all by himself, and he was just really locked and loaded, and really listening to not only all the songs, but I tell a few stories and stuff along the way. And after the show, I was kind of packing up my guitars and stuff, and he came up and wanted to talk to me, which is cool. That's cool. Fan interaction. That's really why I do it, right? He told me that as he introduced himself, he told me that he had driven 3 hours to come to the show that night. That's pretty spectacular. For somebody to drive that distance, and so I had to ask him, was there some particular reason? He said, "Yeah, yeah, I wanted to hear you play your Find a Way song, the title cut from the Find a Way album live, because he'd heard the song and he'd seen some of the videos and stuff that were out there, but he wanted to hear the story behind the song. And the song is really me reminiscing back on the last day that my father was on Earth, and I was working. Go back to our balance question earlier, right? I was working, and he was in the hospital, and he was gravely ill, and it was just y'all kind of knew, you knew it was just a matter of time, and I got a call from my sister who was at the hospital, and she said, Billy, you need to come, and you need to come now. So I finished up what I was doing in my office. Took about 5 minutes or so, and took off and went over to the hospital and hurried in and missed seeing my dad. He had passed about 2 minutes before I got there. Right. It really made me reflect on the fact that if I would have just turned off the computer and walked away when she called, then I would have had that chance, to do what we all want to do in those situations. You want to be there, you want to hold their hand, and kind of help experience the end of this world and the beginning of the next. Right. With the song reminisces about some of those things that he had taught me over his entire life. And one of the things that he taught me that I think probably fits pretty well with the genre of your show is that he had a saying that said, if you want something bad enough in life and you're willing to put in the blood, the sweat, the tears, and the toil, you can always find a way to make it happen. And that particular day, I had prioritized my time poorly, and I had missed that opportunity to sit with my dad there at those last minutes. The song really talks about, reminiscing back on the things that he taught me and all that, and really focuses on if you want something bad enough in life, you can always find a way to make it happen. Uh, Now go back to the guy. He and I were chatting, and he wanted to hear me play that song live. I found out in our conversation that he had his father pass just a few days before the concert. He had listened to that song, and it had brought him some comfort and some solace. He just wanted to come and hear me play it live and see if we could have a little chat about not only some of the things that I learned through that experience, but he could also share some of the things that he had learned through what he had just been going through. So great guy, great conversation. It goes to show you, man, you write a song and you never know, you never know if people are going to like it or if they're going to listen to it or if they're going to understand it. But every now and then you run across somebody who gets it, right? The fact that something that I had written had really reached him and helped him in a really tough spot of his life and kind of brought him some comfort. It doesn't get any better than that. It just doesn't get any better than that. It doesn't matter how many albums you sell and how many fans you have and all that stuff. At the end of the day, it's really all about at least for me, it's really all about interaction with the fans and getting to know people. And, maybe some of my music can help them and maybe some of the things that they tell me can help me. And at the end of the day, that is really why I do this. That's really why I do this music thing. And I'm pretty fortunate that I do not have to rely on the music thing as income. So it really gives me the opportunity to really, really focus on just playing the songs and singing and telling the stories and reaching out and seeing where connections with fans, wherever they may be, can be made. So that's why I do it.
Well, that's amazing how music can connect with fans and how it connects people, and that it was good that you were approachable so that guy could talk to you because someone as honest, approachable as you are. How
Well,
has,
that's another thing. It's the music industry, right? It's the music industry today, and I know that there are some artists that are really kind of standoffish and they won't sit down and talk to people, and I think that that's sad. You know, music is a gift, right? Nobody knows where it comes from. I always say that music's magic, and every now and then, you get your piece of the magic, and you get chosen to share that. You know, and I, I think sometimes people may take themselves a little bit too seriously. I certainly can try not to let that happen.
How has the pandemic affected your music career over the last year?
Well, interesting, right? It's been interesting. It shows, when I got back from tour, it was right at the beginning of February of last year, right? So it was right when the pandemic was really hitting. Everybody went into lockdown and businesses sent everybody to work from home. In my corporate gig, I traveled constantly. Obviously, that was shut down as well. So I had to learn how to not live out of a suitcase, which I know sounds a little strange because a lot of people say, you got to learn how to live out of a suitcase. I had to learn how not to because, I was just gone all the time and traveling. So I learned how to be at home, and I learned how to relax a little bit. From a music standpoint, not just music, but business in general, I've been very impressed with so many people and so many artists, particularly around music, that have found a way to continue to stay in touch with their friends and with their fans and to make their music by, doing things, online things, online concerts. I don't even know. I think I've done 100 of them, something like that, right? There's always a way, that people could use their creativity, and thank God we have technology like the technology you and I are using right now, and we can reach out and stay in touch with our fans, and it's very critical. And so, as I mentioned, I've done a few of these. I always do them for a reason. I don't do them just just because I want to play, right? So, I always ask for folks to go out and support. So we actually did a thing that my daughter dreamed it up actually. And it was called the coronavirus sessions here from my loft, which is what you're seeing now. This is where I live. Um, and what we did was we asked for our fan base, if you would like to hear me here play a particular song, request that song, and then what I would do is I'd learn it and make a video of me playing that song here in my home, and I would post that out on social media. And folks really liked that. And all I asked in return for that was that they went and supported a local business somehow. They didn't have to send me anything, but they could go and support a local business. Whether it's a local restaurant, a local bakery, for example. Go order takeout or buy a gift card, or pick up something from somebody's Etsy space or something, and that kind of evolved into also supporting the local musicians who rely on being able to get out in the public and play live as their source of income, their only source of income. And so through all that, we've also very good friends of mine have created a thing in Kansas City called the Kansas City Online Live Series. And we all use different technologies, but at the end of the day, we do live stream concerts over a schedule. And it's one way that the musicians can keep the music flowing and they can keep their fans engaged. And it's also a way that their fans can help support them during this time. So a little twofold for me. I'm kind of big on supporting local businesses, and I also help and use the online streaming concerts as a way to help support my music friends, because when COVID clears, and everything starts back up, I want to make sure that the businesses and the venues and the musicians are out there and ready to go back to work. I've been very, very, very excited and very pleased with all the creativity that so many of the musicians around the United States, in particular, have used to keep music going. It's a little different, right? Sitting at home watching a concert, on your phone, or if you share it to your TV or whatever, but it's also kind of cool. There's some advantages to it, but very creative and a very good way for folks to stay active and current in COVID. Also, obviously, I continue to write constantly. I'm in the studio now, now that the thing's kind of cleared up a little bit. So I'm in the studio now recording the next project. So I'm excited about that. So COVID's made a big impact. Obviously, I think it's probably impacted other musicians far more than it has me. But at the end of the day, it's all about, understanding the current situation that you're in, being flexible and being creative to keep yourself out there, to keep the music out there, and to keep your fans engaged. And I think that through the use of different technologies, we've been able to do that over the course of the last month.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you about the upcoming projects that you're working on. Tell us about that upcoming project.
Yeah, we've got a new a follow up from our Crossing Willow Creek album. I was just looking the other day, and our Crossing Willow Creek album had 4 singles that went out that have been streamed over 1 million times now around the world, which is cool. I mean, that's cool. But it's always about the next thing, right? It's the next thing. It's the next thing. So approaching this a little bit differently than I have the other projects. The other projects we would create entire albums, and we would send them out, and then you would release different singles off of those albums. But on this particular project, I had a couple of songs that I wanted to get done pretty quickly, and so we had made one single called "More Than Meets the Eye" and released it back in November of last year, and it's done very, very well around. And so now we're in recording 3 more singles, and we'll release those kind of one at a time. And then when we get them all done, I'll probably make some hard copy of the project and make that available in an album or an extended play format, if you would. But I'm going kind of more of the let's make a single and release it, and then while it's running its life and doing its thing, we can be recording the next one. So it's actually kind of fun. It gives me a little bit more of a chance to focus song by song instead of 12 songs on an album or whatever, and kind of fun. So we've got 4 songs. Like I said, we've already done the "More Than Meets the Eye" song and released it. And it's I'm pleased with it. It's doing quite well, and so now we have 3 more that will be coming out. Oh, hopefully we should have at least one of them done in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and then throughout the course of the spring we'll release the rest. All right. So what style of music do you like, man?
Oh, I like all kind of music. I am very open-minded when it comes to music. I've been listening to music since I was very young. I was actually a hip hop artist when I was younger, but I like all kind of music. So,
Well, I think that one of the things that as musicians we need to understand is you got to remember where you came from, right? And pay homage to the folks that really brought you where you are.
but let's talk about some of your biggest influences. Who are they and why are they your biggest influences?
Oh, wow, lot. I have several folks that have been big influences in throughout my career and throughout my life. So I started playing, when I was really, really young, and turned on an album, was given an album by my brother in 1972 by a guy named Dan Fogelberg. The album was called Home Free, an absolutely beautiful work of music. And I sat down and learned that verbatim, note for note, and was he was very influential in what I do and how I go about it. Also, some other folks, obviously James Taylor. I mean, you can't be a singer songwriter without understanding James Taylor and the things that James Taylor has not only given to the public but given to the music world, and also some of the things that he has done for society. You get into some of the great singer songwriters like Jackson Brown, for example, great singer songwriter and also very socially conscious guy who always made a great impact on society. You know, in today's world, there's a couple of guys that I'm very, very impressed with. I really like John Mayer. John Mayer is a really excellent songwriter, and is very. I've been very fortunate to be able to see him play live a few times. But I'm also a big fan of Dave Grohl of the Foo Fighters and he came out of Nirvana. Big fan, big fan. I think he's a great songwriter. Those guys have been pretty influential in my life. I mean, you can go on and on. I mean, there's like Harry Chapin, right? Great singer songwriter. Gordon Lightfoot. The list just goes on and on and on. But I would have to say that if I have to pick one artist that really influenced me the most, it would be Dan Fogelberg. He's the way that he writes, the way that he structures his music, the expression that he uses in his lyrics, and probably the most important thing is how he marries his lyric and his lyrical content and the impact and the message of his lyric. How he marries that with music to really, really highlight uh, the lyrical content of the songs, to me is spectacular. So I would have to say that he's probably my primary influence.
How do listeners connect with you? Give us your social media links, your website, anywhere that you would like us to connect with you and check out your music.
Yeah, so you can start at my just on my website. It's just billabernathy.com. And on there, you can see it's kind of a breakdown of all the different projects and all the albums and a bunch of press and all the things that we've done over the course of the years. There's also links on there to all the other social media, and I found that from a social media standpoint, my audience, my fan base, really seems to like Facebook as much as anything's Facebook and Instagram. So you can go to if you're on Facebook, you could go to Bill Abernathy, singer or songwriter, and that's my homepage. And I post a little bit of information on there, upcoming shows. Sometimes some fun stuff. I was recording part of the recording process yesterday was one of the songs needed banjo, and I hadn't played a banjo since I was probably 16. But I had to go get a banjo and record a banjo thing, and so you can find a picture of me with a cheesy grin playing a banjo right there on the Bill Abernathy singer songwriter site right now. Those are my primary contacts. And if you want to reach out via email, it's just bill@billabernathy.com.
Absolutely. Do you have any final words for people out there, maybe aspiring musicians or just for anybody out there that
Well,
have dreams?
yeah, no, it's all about following your dreams, right? Jimmy Messina wrote a great song one that called "Follow Your Dreams." I actually recorded it. I think that in today's world, we've got COVID, we've got all this political drama, and all this stuff that's going on. It it would be pretty easy to get a little discouraged, I mean, particularly if you're a working musician and all the venues are closed and you really can't get out. Don't go get down about it. Find a way to work around it. Find a way. I mean, I've got some really good friends of mine who are using some technology where they have their full band playing, and each one of the members are at their own house. They're spread all over the greater Kansas City area. And through the use of technology, they do shows, several times a week, and it's cool. It's cool and it's fun. It's different for sure, but it's really cool. So I would just say this: I know that COVID and all the stuff that's going on, right? It's very, a lot of people are disgruntled with the situation, but out of everything you can find something good, right? And I have so many of my friends that have found really positive things that they could do to not only continue their careers, but to learn new things. Learning all the new technologies and being able to reach out to your fan base through all this is really spectacular, and there's opportunities to do that. So maybe don't feel sorry for yourself because of the situation that we're in. but find a way to capitalize, find a way to use it, find a way to do things a little bit differently, but still accomplish the same goal. And the same goal is always, always, always reach out with your music, stay in touch with your fans, put a smile on somebody's face, give them something to think about, you know, do what music does. And we just have to figure out a way to get it out there.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Abernathy. Bill, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. I do have one question for you. Do we have time for you to answer a question?
Yes, sir. What's that?
Uh, where did you get the name Curveball?
I got the name Curveball because, as I told you, I used to be a hip hop artist. And back in like eighth grade, my best friend, Sean Davis, we were talking and I was like, well, he was really pushing me to get my music out or, start doing it. And I
Uh-huh.
said, well, what am I supposed to call myself? And he came up with Curveball. And I do like baseball, and that name stuck with me. So I
Nice.
didn't want to lose it and leave it behind. So for my radio shows, internet radio, I do DJ Curveball. And for this, it's Living the Dream with Curveball. So that name has always stuck with me.
It's very good. I will have to tell you that when I saw that you called the show "Living the Dream," I kind of laughed because that was actually the name of my tour last year. I called it the "Living the Dream Tour." So maybe we were destined to talk tonight, man.
Sounds like it. We're both living the dream, and we're trying to help teach listeners how to live the dream.
Yeah, yeah,
And
very good.
listeners,
Yeah.
while you're living the dream, please make sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share after listening. For more information on the Living the Dream podcast, visit www.djcurveball.com. Until next time, stay focused on living the dream.